Capstone Group working with Capturis. My name is Bryce Ketterling.
Jamie.
Servani.
And I'm Ruben.
And about Capturis. Capturis is a NIST company that works with multi-site businesses to help them manage information and help them track costing as well as utility information and help them pay bills on time and help schedule paying their bills.
So this is a team we've been working with from Capturis. Wendy and David are our sponsors, and Royce is our technical mentor. So the problem we were given is Capturis uses a third-party vendor to test data entry applicants. This can get kind of costly, especially considering how many people they have to test, and the results can expire.
So the solution that we were tasked to build with, to build is the 10-key assessment tool, and that utilizes the 10-key pad on the keyboard. So that this assessment calculates KPH and also accuracy, and accuracy is kind of determined by how many keystrokes a user can enter, as well as how many errors the individual makes on the assessment.
So the solution we came up with is, this is kind of a flow of what it would look like. You'll go from the login page if you haven't already registered to the registration page, and then once you register, you put all your name, email, all that good stuff, and then you go to the login page and log in, and you go to the user dashboard where you see 4 assessments. There'll be a date format, date, like I mentioned, whole number, decimal, and then a mixture of all 3. And then you can also see the history of tests that you've taken in the past. So once you select a test, you have 3 options of time: 1 minute, 3 minute, or 5 minute. While you're taking the test, the countdown will begin. Once you're done, you'll see your results. So you'll see your KPH, your accuracy, and then the number of backspaces you've hit. From there, you can log out or go back and take another test. You can also log in if you were a manager and see the user's results, what test they took, the date, and the KPH as well. And then you can also log out from there.
So the tools that we use for this, we use Postgres database to store the information about our users. We used Java for the back-end logic and Angular for the front-end design. We used GitHub to store all of our files for the project, and Google Hangout to hang out with our sponsors, and Google Drive to store our documents for the class, our SRS documents, weekly reports. We use Jetty to host the server locally, and we use CAPTCHA to prevent spam from robots for the server, so nothing harmful gets in the database.
So kind of the schedule or rundown of how we made our project was weeks 2 through 5 were kind of preparation, making sure none of us really had experience in Angular before, so just using tutorials and learning how to use that properly so we could start our designs. We did get our UI designs made and approved, and then we also got our database set up. Then weeks 6 through 7 we did connections with the database and our server as well. Then week 8, which was about midterm, we did design some of the pages based off the UI and then also routed them. So then week 9 through 11, we started designing the pages some more, experimented with Java. Weeks 12 through 14, we did some more connectivity, trying to get connections everywhere. I know we had quite a bit of issues, and we were very thankful that Royce helped us out with that. Brushing up on pages, we did several iterations of those to make sure they're efficient and well done. And then, of course, week 16, just final touches, design improvements, testing it, as well as adding CAPTCHA as well.
This is a use case diagram. We did kind of talk about this a little bit already, but basically an applicant will be able to register for an account, then go take assessments and view their results, take more assessments, and a manager will be able to view those results.
These are some of the user points that we did accomplish. So we had a total of 55 user points and we accomplished 46, so about 85% of that. These are the ones we for sure finish up, just like adding CAPTCHA, like I said, authenticating users, setting up a database, doing our UI design. So the things we did accomplish, we're quite proud of. I think we did a good job.
And here on the screen now, you can see our ERD. This is the updated one, the final one. So basically, we designed the database in such a way that each component in our application will kind of tie back to a table here in our database. So the user login table kind of has just pertinent information to the login itself. Assessment user will have most of the registration and like some other things about it, such as like the role ID, so you can see what kind of role a user is. And then we have lookup tables, such as the user role and assessment type here, that are just, it's easier to work with integers in a database, so it's just easier to look up descriptions and stuff without having to store the strings. And then the assessment and each assessment result that a user will be tied into the assessment result and the assessment table.
And these are kind of the general steps we took this semester. Created a front-end and back-end environment. We designed the UI and then designed the pages based on those designs. We switched from Java to Node.js back to Java. We were having trouble with Java, so we thought, oh, Node.js is going to be easier, and it wasn't. So we went back to Java and asked Royce for help. Implemented some new elements. We'll show off some of those later. Connected to the database, did some documentation, and verified and authenticated users, and then implemented CAPTCHA.
Some of the risk and issues that we have were quite a few, but we tackled all of them. One would be like cheating on the test. You might get a great score, it might not be you, so you'd come into the facility and then take it. We had goals for ourselves and as a group for each sprint, and we were able to meet those for the most part. Like I mentioned, the framework was a learning curve, and we were able to I think for the most part, learn efficiently and get through the project. I haven't set up an environment before, so I know that was a little bit exciting and getting that all set up. And then we did have some server issues we got fixed, as well as, like he mentioned, switching from Java to Node.js and back. And then we were limited due to time constraints on the pages we could do, but the pages we did get done efficiently and nicely, and they look nice. And then we did have some database flow issues, but they're all working beautifully. So I know a lot of those overlap into the issues, but I'll talk about the ones that don't, like standard for coding. We all try to comment everything to make sure when we do give it to you guys, it's not terrible and you know what we're doing and it's not a jumbled mess. And then also we redefined some roles, we added the timer properly, and stuff like that. So for our demo, where is it?
One more couple more times.
Okay.
Not switch over.
It's not going. Oh no.
Well, that's not good.
Do you want me to look?
Go to the PowerPoint. I'm sorry. I'll fix this quick.
We're having technical issues.
Sorry about this.
Should we go? Okay.
Goodness. Must be. Goodness. Perfect.
So the weather outside is a little frightful.
So here you can see the login page. A user can log in if they have credentials. If they are a new user, they can go ahead and click that create an account button, and it will it'll switch them over to the register page. Here, basically all we're looking for is demographic information about the user, so their first name, last name, email, and stuff like that. The email and the phone number will have a mask, so it's kind of showing what we're expecting in terms of format, and then the password and the username will be there for people to go in and enter their credentials and then confirm password. All of this comes with authentication and stuff like that, and verification. So if let's say a user already exists in the database, it will tell them and it will say, hey, sorry, you have to enter a new username. Or if the email already exists, same thing. If the passwords don't match, it will generate an error and say, hey, passwords need to match. And then the job code there, that will be talked a little bit later. It's in the manager page specifically. And then down below will be the CAPTCHA. So that will also generate an error if you don't hit that. Hopefully it just accepts you. Perfect. And so she can log in as herself, that she just created the account. And it will get you to the manager dashboard page here. It comes with each of the 3 different types and a mix of the different assessments you can take, and then a 1, 3, and 5 minute variation in all of them. And at the bottom there's also a history table, which is not populated at this time because we have not taken any assessments. So why don't we go ahead and Jamie will speak more about that.
So here's our assessment page. Timer will start on your first key press. We're calculating keystrokes per hour based on every keystroke except for enter and backspace. Accuracy is calculated by comparing the values you enter to the values you're supposed to enter. And that's all done in the back end. And we also keep a count of backspaces to see how many times you mess up and then go fix it.
For these tests, you also cannot actually finish it before the timer's done. There's no actual end to it. It actually just randomly generates new numbers every time the list depletes.
Right, it generates them live, real time, so.
And a lot of proofing went into this. We had to make sure, what would happen if a user would type a lot of gibberish and then copy maybe delete all of it and see what would happen. Hopefully we fixed all of that.
So here's the results page. You'll be able to see your KPH accuracy and how many backspaces you hit. That's obviously a really impressive score. About one too many backspaces, but pretty good.
Oh, yep, I guess we just need to scroll down. But yep, so as you can see there, it populated with all the results that we just calculated with her, or when she took the exam or the assessment. And so it shows there in the history table. We did a whole number, and so we're going to do a mix and show you a little bit of that as well.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more difficult just because you'll have different formats, and you'll also have to type in the decimal point and the slashes on dates. So if you're really trying to maximize your score, it's probably not the best idea to take this.
This would probably be the most authentic, what the Capturis would be looking for.
Right, it's probably going to give you closest to what your actual average data entry would be.
I'm obviously a very good typer.
Yeah, this isn't on her screen in front of her.
Right, she has to look
it's
at
on
them.
extend, so usually she'd be flying through this.
Yeah, I did quite a few of these tests in my day.
Yeah. Just because we've tested it so much, we're all pretty much experts at data entry now. So.
Oh no. Okay. Shoot, where am I? Okay.
Are you not in the textbooks anymore?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so
I know.
accuracy a little bit better there. Can't do much better than that, but and KPH improved. So.
Yep, and then if she scrolls down there, there'll be even more. It accurately displays it there on the user history table. And so then we also have, if you are a manager, if you have manager credentials, you can log in as the manager and see everybody's results and stuff like that. So you can see, we basically pull in every person's assessment and their assessment results and their name and stuff like that. You'll see it here. There it is. All of that, including the job code. The job code is something that Capturis wanted us to implement. It's basically to search on, what would probably happen is somebody would they would send an email to an applicant, and the applicant would receive this with probably a job code, and the job code would be kind of to determine like, oh, when did this person take this assessment, or like what, maybe like they have like a round of applicants they wanted, so they give them a specific job code to search by and stuff like that. And this table you can sort. We implemented a specific type of table called an NGX table, data table. It can sort, if you just click on it, it'll sort by any field that you want. So
Ascending.
yep, ascending or descending. And then same thing for all those. They should be pretty similar at this time. We also implemented filter. Once you start typing, it will filter in real time on the field that it thinks that you are looking to filter by. So if she says she did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it matched job code, so it pulled all of that there. If she got out and maybe typed beats or something, it would just pull the first 3. So there we are. And yeah.
How do we get back here?
Yeah, go ahead and just hit that at the bottom there. Yep, oops. Let's try this one more time. More technical difficulties per usual.
Cool beans. Reflection time. So some of our learning experiences we had was, like I mentioned quite a few times, Angular was one that we've all, I think, are very well at now. Setting up everything was definitely something we all grew from, including creating a database and just like making sure and updating it as we go, because sometimes you realize, oh, you created it, and you're like, I don't really need this table, do I? So really doing that, as well as designing the pages and making sure they look nice, and you're not just submitting it last minute, but taking the time to make it look good. And also, I know Ruben and Royce have spent quite a bit of time just fixing all the connections that we have with the help of Royce as well.
Right. Yes, and we're really appreciative of Royce. He's been a really big help to our project. Some setbacks, Java, not necessarily as a whole, but we haven't had any experience or very limited experience in setting like REST API and anything with the back end and hooking all that up. So it was a little bit of a learning experience, of course. IntelliJ, again, not really IntelliJ as a whole, but IntelliJ, it's a very powerful tool, has a lot to offer, and it's an overwhelming amount of information, kind of. So to new users such as ourselves, it was a little hard to kind of know what we wanted specifically, and so we asked Royce and his team over at Capturis to help us out with that. And then connections, again, like I said, with the Java thing, front end to back end and data traversal all the way through. We haven't had really experiences with that, so it set us back a couple weeks. But once we figured that out, it was a breeze.
We did a lot of team bonding. I can say that these guys are some of my best friends, and we also, I think, bonded with our sponsors because we met them every week, and we have jokes, some cupcakes, you never know. And then we weren't the best in the beginning at putting stuff on GitHub, but we were the worst, to quote Jamie, and we are a lot better at it now. We have pushed quite a bit up, and as the school ends, we'll also keep adding our documentation and our final touches as well. Wow. Does anyone have any questions?
I got a couple little things. Just when you're doing the test, why do you show what's coming next?
I guess this is it's just to kind of prepare the users so they kind of know. I guess there isn't necessarily a big reason, but we have, when we were looking at other 10 key assessments that are online and kind of offered, they also did the same thing. And we kind of want to model ours off of another 10 key assessment that somebody else or some other people built online. And we were thinking, this is a good format. This is kind of a standard. We kind of wanted to follow a standard for a 10 key assessment. So that's pretty much the only reason, I think.
And I think, if I remember right, that's something that we decided, like with Capturis, that they wanted to. I don't remember.
Just to kind of chip in, psychologists who've looked at stuff like that, once you've started typing a number, you should start looking at the next one, because you're not even consciously thinking if you're a good typer. So as soon as you can pull in and process another number, you're able to, your hands are just going to go. So it's like piano players. You don't look at what you're playing, you're looking what's coming up.
So we definitely did put some psychological research into it. So
kind of from like a design standpoint, you'd be maybe looking at a piece of paper, there'd be a list of data entry to put in, so it'd kind of be based off of that.
Okay. And then the other one, where you're filtering, you kind of pick whichever based on what they're doing. What if you have beats as a type and beats as a name?
Right, so that's kind of just going off of whatever Angular material.io kind of has. It's just how they, I think, filter. We were looking at some of the documentation, and it appears to kind of just filter on what it best thinks that it is trying to filter by.
it'll show everything. Like if one entry has, let's say, name, that's the same as, I don't know, early.
Like if type was beats, and I think I get what you're getting at. I think if type was beats and if job code was beats, it actually pull both in. So because you're filtering by beats, so it'd say, oh, this matches beats, pull them both in. So, any other questions?
Sure.
Yes.
Kind of what are the plans from here? Are there other features that should be implemented, or is this kind of mostly a complete system with a little bit of maintenance work? Or
yeah, mostly complete with a little bit of maintenance work. As we said, we've completed about 85% of what we actually were assigned with. Some of the things were stretch goals, some of them were not. I know one thing that we did not 100% get was the admin page. Admin page was basically supposed to show all users, and you would be able to kind of go and change their roles and assign them different roles, maybe change some demographic information about them, and potentially even unlock their account if a user was locked out. However, we did not get this 100% implemented, so we did not get it in our demo. Yeah,
and then admin role as a whole as well. We didn't get to the admin role.
Right. Sorry. Go ahead.
So I noticed when Sarvani was creating the new user account, somebody else's username came in, like Ruben popped in.
Yep. That's just autocomplete that I have on my computer, I guess, from Chrome. It has nothing to do with the application
So it
itself.
didn't like pull it from the database.
No.
No, absolutely not. No,
He
there's
signed in a few too many times, so
Yeah.
it's
The reCAPTCHA, I mean, that's awesome that that's in there. Did you guys? I noticed it didn't pop the annoying picture that you have to.
It actually did when I was testing it, and I
Right.
had to find all the buses. So it
will
kind
do
of
it eventually.
It will. Okay.
it
Yeah,
will.
after so many tries, I think, or maybe if we even do it in incognito mode. I know right before here we did do a trial run once before, and it did pop up with buses. That's what she's talking about, I guess. And we were like, oh, this would be amazing. It popped up in the demo. Maybe not, but it will pop up with specific
Yeah, I was just
things.
curious if you had invisible turned on or if it was me too. So that's good. Did the clock go negative on the test?
Yep, that's one thing we are planning on fixing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't even 100% know why, but it hits 0 and then it goes to what? It does like a -1 ...
Yeah.
or
I don't even
something.
think it hits 0. I think it just goes to -1.
No,
It
it
hits
hits 0
it
and then
hits
goes.
0.
Yeah.
And then we had talked in our last meeting about being able to see the way what you keyed in versus what actually came up afterwards in the results. Is that something that didn't make it?
That did not make it. Yes, you're correct. Also, I mean, just in terms of like the scope of the project, I wasn't 100% sure if that's something we did want to implement because, I mean, do we truly want to kind of show the user what they missed and what they didn't? And we probably could. We are saving the what is expected compared to what they actually entered. So we probably could put it in. However, for this demonstration, we did not include it. Any other questions?
I guess also
Yes.
on the last time we met, there was a bug we found about pressing back and not logging out correctly. Was that bug fixed?
Not for this demonstration. However, when we release it or give it to you guys, it will be for sure.
Okay. And I guess how do you guys plan on fixing that bug?
So as a little fix here, we decided to, for each page, we're just going to look for in the session storage if there exists a key for user ID, and if not, then we'll redirect them to the login page. Otherwise, the user will be authenticated. Now, the security of a session storage may be or may not be. You may or may not be able to change that very easily. I'm not 100% sure. If that is the case, we can also integrate something where we can take your recommendation and store something in the database, and also check if this user is supposed to be logged in, so they went through the login page. We can also add that in. That's not that big of a fix at all.
Okay.
So is that okay?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that security should always be on the database side, because session storage, you can double click on it and you can edit it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you can edit in, or you can now become a manager or the admin
Gotcha. Okay.
through that. And also, I guess another thing with security, I remember, I think it was Jamie that said something about, what was it, Price? I think Price said something about two-factor authentication at midterm. Was that ever discussed again? Was that ever?
I wouldn't know. I don't remember anything about two-factor, but yeah, we could look at it probably.
I'm not entirely sure. I guess we haven't discussed it any further since midterm. I think that might have been just another stretch goal if we got time for it, but I don't think we'll get time for it, I guess.
Yeah, I think we were more concerned about CAPTCHA.
Yeah, I guess it was in the same sentence as CAPTCHA.
Ah.
Okay. Memory's not that good, sorry.
All right.
Any other questions or?
Thank you.
Thank you.